Hey, good morning. It's good to see you today. My name is Philip Thomas, pastor of Journey Church here in Elgin, Texas, here with Tom Burns with the Redeemed Idiot. This is our Revelation recap. So as we're going through the book of Revelation on Wednesday nights at 6:30, we'd love for you to come watch that. You can also always watch on the Redeemed Idiot YouTube page, Facebook, or in our church app. You just go to kind of the media tab and there's the Redeemed Idiot section. Can't miss it. So we are still in our kind of, it's not really a break from Revelation. It's a clarifying or helping to clarify what is to come in Revelation by looking back at Daniel.
Yep.
Right.
That's good.
So we're in Daniel chapter 8 today. So we're going to be looking at, I guess the last couple of weeks, we've kind of been looking at that statue. So that this real quick, the statue was gold was who? That was Nebuchadnezzar, right?
Yep.
So that's Babylon.
Yep.
Then silver would be
the Medo-Persian
Empire, right? And all of this fleshes out through history, right?
Yep.
And then you have the kilt of bronze. So
and he wasn't even Scottish, but that's Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great.
Greece.
And then you have the legs of iron.
This would represent Rome, the Roman Empire.
Yes. And then we get to the feet, which is a mixture of the iron and clay and the toes. And we're building to that point.
Right.
Okay. So that we've kind of fleshed that out. Well, now Daniel has another dream. And so this would have been later on. And he's still in Babylon, right? Yep. Babylon is still the big dog right now. So we're still on that statue. We're still in the time of the golden age at the top, right?
Right.
Okay. So,
well, interesting you said that, because this is his dream, his vision, but the 1 and 2 was
Nebuchadnezzar's
vision. Yeah.
Yes. But this is now Daniel's.
Right. And then in 7 was Daniel's.
Yes.
That was in Aramaic.
Right. So it was a message.
So this is similar, but it is different.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's very, very good point. So we're a couple of things that we're gonna do. We'll just go through the first part of chapter 8. You're gonna finish chapter 8 next week.
Correct.
So first, just in general, this dream, what is it referring to? And I know we'll flesh out the proof of the scriptural proof of this, but let's go ahead and we're not gonna hide the point. What is this dream referring to, and when is it referring?
So, simply put, the second half of the tribulation is what it's referring to. That's the time. Does that answer the question? It's the second half.
It's talking about the second half of the tribulation, right? So, again.
And it's pointing to the Antichrist at the second half of the tribulation.
So, it is pointing to something that has not happened yet. So, this is referring to things in Revelation that are still to unfold.
Correct.
The reason why it's important is there will be people that disagree with that. Mm-hmm. They will say this is referring to things that have already happened in history. For example, they will talk about during the time of the Maccabean revolt. What led to the Maccabean revolt was Antiochus Epiphanes coming in and desecrating the temple. And then a year or two later, the Maccabeans basically retaliated, right? That was a crazy time in Jewish history. Some will say that's what this is referring to here in a minute. Others will kind of connect it to around 70 AD when the Roman Empire destroyed the temple. On the surface, I think it's understandable how people can make those connections. If you're trying to make it to where Daniel, that all this prophecy has already been fulfilled, those are the places that you would go to in history. However, that's not really what it's saying, right? Okay.
Right.
So just for last night, this is going to make even more sense after next week.
Right.
But what was the main point of last night as you were breaking down these first 14 verses of Daniel chapter 8?
So the main point of it is, which is the main point of the prophecy, that I was trying to flesh out, was really kind of a deconstruction of things that are taught and start laying the groundwork for that this is not the Antichrist, or Antiochus Epiphanes is not the Antichrist at that time.
Yeah.
He didn't come then. That was not the abomination of desolation that is talked about in Revelation.
Yeah. So, and in doing that, you're also, you went through a lot of history, and you're showing how amazing this prophecy is.
It's insane.
It really is.
Insane in a good way.
Yes. And I understand how people can get to where it's like, oh, here we go again, trying to fit historical events to make prophecy true. And I do get that, because some people have tried to force certain historical events to fit. That's not what we're trying to do here. It's just like, no, look at what it's saying,
Right.
and then just look at history and what's the natural explanation for it that makes sense, right? We're not having to force this.
Right.
And that's the same thing when we get to Revelation. We shouldn't have to force what we think Revelation is saying and force it onto a historical event. It should just be like, yeah, that's obvious what it's pointing to.
Right.
Now, then, if you choose to believe that none of this is historically accurate, or it's not being literal in that way, and you just think that all of Revelation is just a really creative writing exercise to tell us that God is going to win in the end, okay, fine, because we agree God is going to win in the end, and it's going to be through Christ. However, what if he was giving us the signs of the times, which he did say? He said, don't focus on when the end is going to start, but he did say, pay attention to the signs of the times. What if he's actually doing that? What if God is actually doing that through all of Scripture?
You mean doing what he said he's going to do? I don't know. I'm not used to that in people.
So it's a little crazy.
I know, it's way crazy.
Okay, so I hope that kind of clarifies what we're trying to do here, right? So with that, let's just jump into what we talked about in the first few chapters of Daniel. So it starts off, I saw a vision. I was in Susa, the citadel, which is a province of Elam, and I saw the vision, and it was at the Ulai Canal. So just go back and you can look at the maps, but where is this in, today? So Daniel finds himself in a specific geographical location, right?
Right.
So where is that basically?
So today, I mean, the quick look up onto is it's in Iran, and the town is now called Shush, and there was Susa then, it's Shush, which sits down close to the Iranian border, close to the Arabian Peninsula River. And so it's right down, almost straight across from Babylon.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and it's right next to the border, but we threw a map up. So it's down that south end where the Euphrates and the Tigris meet, and then the Euphrates becomes the border between Iraq and Iran for just a little short period. So it's right down in that little small area where they meet.
Yes. So that's a very real place, which again is important, because this, if you just take this for what it says, and then with what we know of history, applying it, it makes sense whenever you kind of get all of this in your head. So it says, I raised my eyes, I saw, behold, a ram standing on the bank of the canal. Okay, so you say a ram. Okay, well, we've seen animals are representative of kingdoms, right? Is that fair to say? Not all the time.
Yes.
But we talked about the lion being Babylon,
right?
The leopard being Alexander the Great,
right?
The bear being the
Cyrus or Persia.
Cyrus. So Persia is now conquering, merging with Media, but they kind of conquered them because
they did conquer.
They did, yeah. And then that bear goes over and conquers Babylon, and then it goes and conquers whatever's up there close to.
So that's kind of like what we were talking about last week.
Yes.
But then in this prophecy, what you're reading is a ram. So it's no longer a bear.
Exactly. Is that where you're going with this? Yes.
Okay, I'll let you finish. So yeah.
So because it's important, because it can feel weird. It's like, we were just talking about a bear. Now we're talking about a ram, right? But if you just look at it, okay, clearly this is using, animals to represent different stages in kingdoms'
That's a good way to say it.
lives, right? So there was a stage where the Medo-Persian was a bear. That was when it was conquering things, right?
Well, kind of, sort of. The bear was Persia.
Was actually Persia.
Persia. And then it conquered 3 areas, and now, but when it conquers Media, now it's a combined thing. It's no longer just a bear. It now becomes the ram with 2 horns.
Yes, exactly. So
I know it's weird to flesh these things out.
It is, but I think it's important just to kind of talk about it, and then all of a sudden, because once you kind of get it, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. We're talking about different kind of a little bit different time frames. We're talking about progression of history.
Yep.
And so now and this is a different vision. So
yep.
So one was about the bear and the rise of Persia into the Medo-Persian. Now that has already been established.
Yep.
So now it's considered a ram with 2 horns. The 2 horns would be who?
2 horns are the 2 kings. Now, what I did say, I said last night it was Cyrus and I wrote his name down. Let me look at it. What was homie's name? How come I can't find it?
That you're wanting
Astyages.
Yeah.
Was the king of Media when Cyrus was king, and he conquered, and then they said, hey, you're going to work for me.
Yeah.
But now next week I'll talk about this, but when the ram, to the next part you're going to read, that he's seeing in the Suez Canal, is not those 2 kings anymore. This is now, time is fleshed out. Everything's been conquered. There's 2 different kings, but it's not really relevant to the name. The fact is the 2 horns are 2 kings.
2 kings.
The king of Media at the time, that this vision is happening, and the king of Persia.
Yeah. And
is that fair?
It's just explaining the geopolitical situation. And horns are representative of power. They are representative of kings. We've seen that throughout, and we'll see that even in Revelation, right? That horns are representative of positions of power, where an individual has a position of power.
The authority.
The authority.
Yep.
And so it says both horns were high. I love this because, okay, you have 2 kings, right? And they have an alliance. We all know how human nature works. You don't have 2 kings that both see each other as equals. Both of them are seeing the other ones as, I'm a little higher than that. But history will always tell us which one was actually the one that was higher, right?
Right.
And I love what it says. It says one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last, right? So it's talking about these 2 kings, right? And how one was higher than the other. Who is that kind of talking about here?
So, okay, that's a really good point.
Do we want to wait to get?
No. We don't have to wait to it.
Yeah. Okay. That again, I think all of this, it makes sense whenever you connect history with what happened. It's obvious. So now you have this ram that is fully engaged. Right. And it says, I saw the ram charging westward and northward and southward. No beast could stand before him. There was no one who could rescue from his power. He did as he pleased and became great.
Right.
So what historically, what is that talking about? Because again, you're starting from this specific place, right? So we're now talking about moving westward, which would get you to Babylon, northward, which would get you to Lydia, and then south, which would get you to Egypt, right? And that's what happened. And that's the difference between whenever it was the bear. It was a little bit different. It wasn't, and you talked about the distinctions there, but it does appear that the bear, the 3 ribs, it's talking about Media, Babylon, and then Lydia. And then this is now, once it's become the ram, here are the 3 areas that that the ram takes over. Yeah. So that's in the past. Well, and not at this time. It was still something that was going to happen.
To the future to Daniel in Babylon.
Yes, but for us, these are things that have already happened. So that part's been fulfilled. The ram issue with the 2 horns, in some ways, have been fulfilled through history. However, all of this is also pointing.
And what's funny is this: you said this, I didn't mention last night. So you have Daniel in Babylon, right? So that's the empire. And then this vision takes off at the point where there's the ram. And what you're going to read next is someone kills the ram.
Yes. Yeah.
It actually doesn't really talk about the Medo-Persian Empire.
No,
This guy skips it and goes straight to what you're going to find out is Greece.
Yeah. Yeah, really, his previous vision about the bear was more about the Medo-Persian Empire.
Yeah.
And this one is moving us forward in history, from that time period.
So then the question would be, I'll throw a question out as we go through this, and if you're listening now, if you go back and watch last night, it's like, why did Daniel in the Babylonian Empire completely skip the Medo-Persian Empire? Why was he told to just focus on Greece?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
We'll answer that next week.
So as I was considering, I love that. Daniel's like, the hell is going on here? As I'm considering.
Because the interpretation hasn't happened. You're like,
right.
There's this goat and this ram coming at each other, and his horn's taller than that one. And why am I at a canal here? Yeah. I'm over here in Babylon. What am I doing?
I just like the garden, the hanging gardens of Babylon. Just leave me here. Yeah. So as I was considering, behold, a male goat. Now, that's kind of a funny one because I consider a goat. I'd much rather be a ram. For sure, would rather be a bear. We're going downhill quick. We were at lions and leopards and all this stuff, and then to bears, and then to rams, and now we're at goats.
I wonder if it's a fainting goat. No, because it would have been a fainting goat.
It could not be a fainting
Maybe
goat.
A fainting ram. But anyway, we'll go ahead.
So a male goat came from the west across the face of the whole earth, right? And again, the way that earth, I'm going to say that's the same word that talks about regions. It's not necessarily talking about the whole globe.
No.
Right. But it was, to their knowledge at that time, that was the extent of the whole earth.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
That's their world.
They didn't know about North America and South America.
Right.
So it comes across the whole earth without touching the ground. And the goat had a conspicuous horn between his eyes. Okay. Who is this talking about?
Alexander the Great. And the reason why we can say this right now, because when you do the interpretation, they actually give the answer. Yeah. So it's not like me trying to make you believe the goat is, or the horn's Alexander the Great, and the body or the goat is actually Greece.
Yeah.
When you get in the interpretation, the angel tells them, this is Greece. This is the king of Greece.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not having to play games. I'm just giving you a heads up.
Even without that, it's pretty obvious.
Historically, you know who it is.
Yes. And because it says a conspicuous, conspicuous horn.
Don't feel bad. I can't say half the words I say at night, especially his name.
And horn between his eyes, which Alexander was a unique figure. He was young, and you talked about that. This word, is this the word where it's bitter? No. Okay.
Nope, not yet.
What is this?
So this word conspicuous, and it comes up twice, and I'm gonna have to look at the definition exactly. But so the word is kazuth, and it means a look, but beyond that, in a figurative sense, it's a striking appearance. It's a revelation of a formal agreement, which is a really kind of bizarre statement for a horn. But as you read it, it says a conspicuous horn. There's nothing that is an adverb to it or an adjective to it. It's telling us that horn is something funny. Now, I didn't say this last night, but notice where that horn is.
Between his eyes.
Yeah. I mean, it'd almost be like a unicorn. Yeah. And this is not a unicorn, but it's different. There's something why this horn, this person, and the four generals we'll talk about are conspicuous in terms of a revelation of formal agreement. Remember that, because this is going to play into next week. Yeah.
So this is a unigoat. Not So here we have the Alexander the Great, the Grecian Empire. We know goes all the way, conquers all of Media Persia. Actually, even goes further than that into some areas of India. I mean, it's massive.
Because it said, like you just read, he came from the west across the whole earth. So across the entire empire. So Greece is way to the west. Yeah. The very tip of what you'd see is this empire. Yeah. Actually just outside of the empire at the time, and came all the way across into basically what we know today as Iran.
Yeah. And it says he came to the ram. So remember who the ram was. That's the Medo-Persian Empire, right? With the two horns. So again, there's still those
two kings.
There's those two kings. which I had seen standing on the bank of the canal. So Daniel he's considering all this. And he's like, oh, that's talking about the people that I just seen earlier in the vision. And he ran at him with his powerful wrath. I saw him come close to the ram, and he was enraged against him and struck the ram and broke his two horns. To me, it's obvious what this is. He conquered the ram.
Yeah,
right? There's really nothing all that much, except is this where the enraged?
Enraged, yeah.
So I do want, you said, I saw him come close to the ram, and he was enraged against him, and he struck. So that kind of goes to the motivation,
right,
if you will. But what's that word actually?
So the word in the Hebrew is marmar, and enraged is okay, but it doesn't really give you that substance to the real word, which means to be bitter. Alexander the Great, who's coming across, is bitter. He's upset. Something's got him ticked off inside. And this goes all the way back to between 492 and 459 or 449 it was. Is there was 3 major campaigns that Persia raised up against Greece. The one we most know is the Battle of Thermopylae, which the movie the 300 is from. Yeah, exactly.
And the Spartans.
And the Spartans, exactly. So that's great. Persia pretty much kept trying to take down Greece, and they didn't succeed. Now, they did kill King Leonidas, took his head off, and they displayed him.
Yeah.
So all these things is what happened. Now, when you read this, you're thinking, okay, so Alexander the Great is, alive. He's around here at this point. He's like, he's mad. He's going to end up becoming king, and he's going to go kill him. No, because it was over 100 years later, after all this, that he even became king. Right. So it wasn't even in his time, but he's bitter for what they had done to his people 100 years before. We're not doing this anymore. I'm going to go take them out, which he does. So that's the bitterness. This is why he did this for the primary. Revenge,
basically, as a kid, he's being told the stories of the 300. He's being told all these stories, and he's in his mind, he's like, we've never exacted revenge for this.
No, exactly.
We've just let this go, and you know what? I'm gonna exact revenge, and he does. It truly is crazy. And so he broke his two horns, and the ram had no power to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and trampled on him. Again, this is just all completely subdued. This kingdom is now no more. And there was no one who could rescue the ram from his power. Then the goat became exceedingly great. Right. So again, we see what Alexander the Great, he became great. But when he was strong, so at the height of his strength, the great horn was broken. And instead of it, there came up 4 conspicuous, or those who are bound by what was that word? Conspicuous, being bound by a formal agreement.
Revelation of a formal agreement.
Right?
We'll get more of that later.
So, but there are 4 of those horns that pop up. And so what we know through history is when Alexander the Great died, he split the kingdom into 4 areas that became essentially their own kingdoms with their own king, their own horn. Right. So that's kind of what that's.
Yeah, so 4 kings, Cassander, up around the Greece area. Then you had Antagonist that was kind of like, you see around the Turkish area. And then you had this is Secluus won the Dictator, something like that. That's around the Iran area. Then you have the Ptolemies, which is in Egypt.
Yeah.
Those are the 4.
Yeah, the 4 areas.
Yeah, they became their kings.
And they were all different. Now they would battle against each
other. Oh yeah, they
did.
I
mean, there were all kinds of stuff, but those now were 4 powerful kingdoms.
Of still the Grecian Empire.
Yes. Which would eventually become the Roman Empire. It's the foundation of that.
Some of it.
Right, but not all of it.
Yeah, not all of it.
No, that's all of this builds on each other throughout history. So then out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great towards the south, towards the east, and toward the glorious land. Okay. This would be where you really wanted to correct a teaching, because a lot of people, is this where they kind of start thinking this is the Antichrist?
Mm-hmm.
Or or at least the potential of an antichrist. And it is correct, but this is even for us talking about future.
Yes,
right?
this honestly, the way it's taken is it's hard to say it this way, but it's the wrong time in history.
Yeah.
But it's really still our future.
It's still our future.
Yeah. So this is not talking about, which we'll find out next week, is not talking about then.
Yes.
And I know it's kind of hard to comprehend.
It is.
But it isn't. Next week we'll flesh it out. But what I was bringing out was, and I won't go into long of it right now, but I was bringing out some of the things where it shows that this person, Antiochus Epiphanes, they claim was an antichrist, doesn't really fit the bill the way they say he does. Yeah. He did do some things that do fit the abomination of desolation. I get it.
Yeah,
it does. There's some things that fit. That's where they get it from, and then they expand on it and make you believe things that aren't. Yeah. I'll leave it right there. I know you probably got questions. You're going to phrase this in a way. Yeah. Because I can go down some serious rabbit holes.
So. And again, I'm just trying to, because it's hard to get our mind around it because we're talking about prophetic stuff. Some of it has already been fulfilled. It does fit within history. So just, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but these first 8 verses of Daniel, they are Daniel's future. Right. From when he's seen this, it's talking about the future for him. It's talking about the past for us. When we start getting into verse 9, we are still talking about the future for Daniel, but now we have joined him. It's also talking about the future for us.
Right.
Is that
exactly? Because the whole point to Daniel 8 is really about verse 9 and on.
Yes.
But the foundation to understanding it is the first 8 verses.
Yes.
And this has a little bit to do with how it went from he's in Babylon, essentially skips the entire Medo-Persian Empire and jumps straight to Greece. So that means this empire of Grecian Empire has something to do with tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
I'll leave it right there.
Yeah. No, I think that's important. And you may say, well, why would they skip from here to here? All of this stuff. One, because that's how God wanted to reveal it. It would have made more sense to them.
Right.
But it's for us today, it's giving proof of the reliability of these prophecies of Scripture. So we can look and say, oh, this clearly is what this has been talking about. And so that can give us confidence that, okay, now it's not going to talk about every stage of all of history, right, but it's talking about the big things that were leading up to this. And so if it was perfectly prophetic in talking about the rise of the Medo-Persian Empire, the rise of Alexander the Great and Greece, then maybe we can see the signs of when it's talking about in the future because it's been accurate to the past. Does that make
That's exactly
sense?
It, yeah.
So it talks about there's going to be one that goes towards the east, towards the glorious land. This, again, Antiochus Epiphanes does not fit that. He kind of went west, right, to Jerusalem.
That's the Holy Land, or the glorious land.
The glorious land. But he says he went towards the south. You could say that he went to Egypt.
He did. Two times.
But he didn't. But this is so different because he really wasn't all that successful.
No, he conquered part of Egypt, and then there was an internal revolt, and they took it basically back what he set up. So he came back again, and actually from Rome, that's not even part of this, some adversary dudes came down there because he was coming back. The story is they drew a circle, like, okay, you want to fight? Cross the line.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, and he's like, dang it, I'm not that great. I can't do this. So he took off. And so he lost that.
Actually, it's from that, historically, that he goes to Jerusalem and slaughters a pig on the altar as the desolation of abomination, right?
Yeah, exactly. And kills some Jews.
So he was basically mad because he's a bully.
That's a good word, yeah.
He stood up to the bully.
Yeah.
But it didn't take the bully away, so he went to someone he could bully, and that was that
was already under his empire.
That was already, he already had control over it. So,
That's perfect.
This is important because these visions, when they've talked about both Cyrus and the Medo-Persian Empire and Alexander the Great and the Grecian Empire, have talked about them as being great. Well, those empires, especially under those rulers, were never conquered. They did not lose, right? The way they lost their empire was later on. And so you would think this is using similar language. It's talking about this great horn. And it says in verse 10, it grew great even to the host of heaven. So again, great, the host of heaven, probably talking about the Jewish people here, right? A group of people that are connected to God. So great that it's able to overcome them. Well, Antiochus Epiphanes did overcome them, even though they were already overcome, but he overcame them again and did the abomination of desolation. But what happened a couple years later?
The Maccabee revolt.
Which the Maccabees kicked him out.
Yeah, and it's a small group of Jewish warriors against the Syrian army.
Yeah.
And they won. So how great is he really? He couldn't hold down the Jews.
Yes, yeah.
Even though they were still under his empire.
So then it says, and some of the hosts and some of the stars it threw down to the ground and trampled on them. Yeah. So again, he never did any of that, right? Like we can connect when
killed some Jews.
Yes. Yeah. But he didn't trample on them. That's the same language as what the goat did to the ram. Well, that was when he completely overtook. Well, he did that for a year, and then he got trampled on.
He is either 3 or 4 years. Exact date is not known. Yeah. We can break it down as either 3 years, 2 weeks, or 4 years, 2 weeks, and then they revolted against him.
Yeah. So again, it's just
and he didn't stay there. He left.
Right.
He went back up to Antioch.
Yeah. And it became great, even as great as the prince of the host. So that's a powerful statement.
We're just talking about Christ.
That's what I was. So if the host here is talking about the people of God, which that's what it appears to be, right? And if you disagree with that, then you also are disagreeing with the people who believe that this is talking about Antiochus Epiphanes,
right?
Because they're believing that this host is the people of Jerusalem and that he went and did this to, right? So this is the people, but that he became as great as the prince of the host. That is clearly talking about Christ, the influence that Christ had. So this is obviously talking about the Antichrist, and the fact that we try to connect Antiochus Epiphanes, it just does not fit at all. So that's why this is talking about future for us as well. Right. And the regular burnt offering was taken away from him, and the place of his sanctuary was overthrown. They actually restarted the sacrifices and stuff after the Maccabean revolt. So it wasn't fully taken away at this time. Again, none of this really fits.
Yeah, there was a period it does fit. That's where they get, because there wasn't an abomination of desolation, but the time of it doesn't fit to the rest of prophecy. Yeah, no. So and he wasn't in complete total control. Right. It doesn't completely fit.
And then a host will be given over to it together with the regular burnt offering because of transgressions. It'll throw truth to the ground. That's an interesting one. It will throw truth to the ground. So this is talking about what the Antichrist will do, right? It's throwing truth to the ground. Is that basically? Okay, I just want to make sure. And it will act and it will prosper. So the Antichrist will actually prosper. Antiochus Epiphanes didn't ever really prosper in a historical sense.
No, because even the part earlier, it says the other part where he went east, there's a part saying that he went back after Syria, but Syria is where Antioch is, the capital. He didn't re-go after his thing.
He already had it.
But he did go east against, I can't remember what they're called right now, but more like the Iran side. And if he's so great, then how did he get killed by him?
Yeah.
He didn't overcome them. He was killed by him. So that concept of him being so great, which we know the Antichrist will be great in terms of conquering and doing things
and influence
globally.
Yes.
This guy's not even close. No, he doesn't even he's not even on the mud on the shoe of the Antichrist.
Right. I mean, he doesn't even compare to Cyrus or Alexander.
No.
In any way, shape, or even the first 4 actual kings of the Grecian Empire.
There's 7 of them.
Yeah.
Before him.
Right.
And his dad's name was Antiochus
the Great.
The Great. Now, he's the one that got confused. Like, no, it's 2 different ones, because his dad did anybody who rose up, he smited him back down because he was great.
Yes. Yeah.
And just to say that his dad's name was Antiochus. There's 2 other kings that have the name Antiochus that their last name also says, by definition, Antichrist, Antichrist.
Right.
The name comes up multiple times.
Yes. Yeah.
So which one are we going to pick here? Because he's the weakest of all of them.
So then it goes in, and we're going to get into this more, but it does bring up these 2,300 evenings and mornings, which are those are days.
They are days.
You kind of talked about how people will try to make things fit. And this is one of the reasons that I check out on a lot of Revelation stuff, because I'm like, wait, this clearly is talking about days. We see that in Genesis. There was evening and there was morning, day one. So you shouldn't have to make something fit. There should be something that is 2,300 days. If it's literal. If it's not, okay, fine. But those that will attach Antiochus Epiphanes with an Antichrist type figure will then end saying that Babylon, that this vision is something that's already been fulfilled. You really have to struggle to connect that. There's nothing that matches the 20.
Nothing at all. And they have slid it down to his time that he was in power. The time is not right. To the time that before the Maccabean revolt, when he went after the Jews, the days aren't right. They try to split it in half and saying that the morning sacrifice and the evening sacrifice is 2 in a day. They'll split it in half and come with a number and go back to Leviticus.
And that gets you closer, but it doesn't get you there. Yeah. So then you have to add more sacrifices.
Oh my gosh, it gets crazy. So none of it actually matches. Yeah. And then, like you said, we go back to Genesis to understand what's amazing, is especially when this prophecy is fulfilled. But even here, it's great into the interpretation part that an angel's telling him this is what it basically means. And he uses scripture to explain it.
Explain himself, yeah.
Evenings and mornings, because in the Jewish tradition, from evening to morning is a day. They don't go morning to night. It's the other way around. Yeah. And that's what Genesis comes up. But when you hear the narrative behind this, they'll say morning, evening. They flip the two. Well, you got to keep it in scriptural context, which tells us a day. Yeah. We'll leave it there. I mean,
so that's going to wrap us up today, because this is, in a sense, this is an introduction to the big picture of this vision, because next week we're going to be looking at the translation of it, right? The interpretation of it. But just wants to make that point. This starts off, it's talking about things that are in our past, but then its main focus is pointing us to the Antichrist.
Right.
And so that's our future, just as it is Daniel's future.
And I want to say one more thing, really brief. So one of the other false teachings is from last Daniel 7, it talks about the 10 horns, little one pokes up, another horn. So there's 10 kings already in place. Another one comes up, which is the Antichrist, and he plucks 3 out.
Uproots 3.
I'm sorry. That's right. It's uproot, not plucks. Yeah. He uproots 3 of the already existing kings. Well, here, what they'll teach is that when Antiochus Epiphanes' brother died, we won't go into all the names, but when he died, or was killed, I'm sorry, he didn't die, he was killed, and someone wanted to overthrow him, that he took the throne, and they'll go, he uprooted the 3 people that should have been kings, because the person that was supposed to have it was actually imprisoned in Rome at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there was his nephew, actually, they kind of co-ruled. He did kill him.
Yeah.
And then the third one was a daughter. The third person they talked about was a female, but in the secluded empire, females were not kings. Were not heirs to the throne. They were used to go marry other kings or the kingdoms to create to combine forces. So my point being is this: those 3 people were not kings, but Daniel 7 tells them they're already kings.
They're already kings, yeah. So, and on top of that, the little horn, or the one that uproots them, it doesn't even fit. He didn't uproot those. It just it was luck, except for the one he killed.
But also in Daniel 7, he doesn't kill him.
No,
he humiliates them. So the prophecies don't fit, but they'll try to make it fit. But not any one of those 3 were already kings. And then he rises up. He already had to be a king. They were not. Period. End of story, no matter how you want to lay it out. Yeah. I just want to point that last part out.
I think, and again, the main point of this vision is it is pointing us ultimately to things yet to come.
Exactly.
And that's the most important thing.
Yep.
And it's important to understand this prophecy because Revelation expounds on it, right? Essentially. Okay. All right. we could go on forever. It's fun.
Yep.
Again, with the reason we talk about this, one, I hope you recognize just how amazing God is and what he has revealed to us throughout. We're talking of thousands of years with different authors, and it is
Different countries.
different countries, different languages, and it is a consistent message all the way through. Give Christ a chance. He is the Son of God. He died for you. He rose again. He is returning, and you will either be with him or you will be against him. And he desires for all of us to be with him. And I hope as we're talking about this, you're seeing and getting the glimpse of just how awesome he is.
Yep.
So, all right.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See ya.